Everybody, welcome to Visual Communication and Media. My name is Adam Rozeski. It's a pleasure to see each and every one of you. Hope everybody's having a great week. I hope everybody had an awesome Thanksgiving, had really great stuff. I'm excited for everything that you guys went through, and I hope everything was blessed. And let's get back to it. So, just to give everybody a heads up, we do have our discussion post by the end of the night tonight. It'll be great. Your reply posts. Initials should already be turning from Tuesday. If not, please get them in today. That'd be awesome. And then you have your live lecture assignments and your written assignments due tomorrow night. So keep that in mind. Other than that, I want to give you a little bit of help on your written assignment and talk about logos, since the whole goal of this assignment this week is analyzing logos on how they use font, color, and symbols, and to get some just suggestions on what can make a really sweet logo at the end and based upon the visuals that you use. So let's talk about logos and their importance and how different logos can define different things based upon the visuals. Now, logos, much like symbols and icons, they have to be simple and easy to understand and translate in size. So depending on what thing it's on, like if it's like an Apple iWatch or an iWatch or words are hard, sorry about that. If it's an Apple iWatch or if it's some type of like billboard, it doesn't matter on the size of where it's at, it's just where it's located. That's really the big things. Now, logos are a visual representation of the product or company experience. That logo represents what that is, that business or that service or that product. So, for example, Nike's symbol is the Greek symbol for athleticism, which ties into sportswear. Target is the one-stop shop for everyone to find what they need and where they're located at. It's huge where its aspect is. So they need to directly correlate to the experience of what they're trying to sell. And font style and format must always be considered, including cultural elements, because if you're going to sell across to multiple nations and multiple cultures, you need to make sure that you don't offend anybody based upon the symbolism that you use. Now, there's 7 different types of logos. There's an abstract mark, which is a mark that directly correlates to that business itself and doesn't really mean anything. It may have some representation to it. For example, Pepsi's mixed 3-color sun is specific to them because they created it years ago, if not decades ago, almost a century ago, I think. And it's just been the iconic mark for them. But a lot of times, abstracts could look like some of the things, but they mean something else that's tied to that product. So it's not directly correlated to it, but it kind of ties into the experience or what it is the history of that company, much like the logo for Pepsi. Now, a mascot logo is the mascot itself. It's right in front, right off the bat. For example, Kentucky Fried Chicken has the Colonel, and he's always been there as their main mascot, and so he's part of the logo, and that ties into it. If it's showing the mascot, then that's a mascot logo. Now, combination mark's a little bit different. They combine 2 or more elements to create that mark. We'll come back to this one in a minute and go from there as to why the symbolism is important over there. Now, emblem logos are very traditionalistic. They have a very heraldic style of visuals. They really represent some type of organization or school or some type of really governmental facility a lot of times, and or some traditional community or anything that deals with something that has a long history and uses much more of a traditional element of visuals a lot of times. For example, Harvard right here. Harvard uses the wreath with the scroll that says Harvard on the bottom, and then it has a shield in the middle with 3 books attached onto it that say the Latin word veritas, which means truth. And they've always been the place to find truth, no matter what. Even for, I think Harvard's been around for almost like 400 years, if I remember correct. I think they were there before like the United States became the United States. I could be wrong on that, but I know they've been around for a very long time. And Harvard has always been the place to seek truth and knowledge all the time. So that's why the logo ties into it. That's why they use the Latin word veritas and the wreath and the shield to showcase it's the place to discover truth in a lot of different aspects. Now, the other bottom 3 right here are letter marks, pictorial marks, and word marks. Letter marks are just an acronym of a bigger name that's easier to brand in a lot of different aspects. For example, NASA is obviously the National Administration of Space Association. That is the space shuttle. That's the government program for launching shuttles into space. a lot of times, or rockets in a lot of aspects. They deal with space travel and all those different areas. They help train astronauts. They're very important for how that. It's gone more to the private sector this year, kind of like Elon Musk with his, his company, and also with Blue Origin and all that aspect. So it's kind of a mix of where it's gone and where it's keep going from there. But NASA, it's obviously hard to brand something that's 4 words that are very huge. So they just took the first letter of each word and created an acronym for it, and then they letter mark that, and that's what they focus on, is a letter mark that's an acronym. Kind of like the FBI or the NFL or the MLB, which is a Major League Baseball or National Football League. It's kind of hard to do the whole thing, so they kind of bring it down into one section. Now, pictorial marks are different. They have no words whatsoever. It's just the image of the company and the experience, much like the black apple with the bite in it. It deals with Apple computers right off the bat. It's always been their logo ever since day one, for sure. It was a rainbow-colored logo, but then it transferred into the black apple after a time when like iPads were a thing. Then we have the word mark, where unlike the letter mark, where it's just the acronym for a bigger name, the word mark is just the company itself and the name itself. This works great if you have a small amount of letters, probably less than 12. That way it's good. If you have something that's bigger than 12 as a name, don't word mark it. Just come up with something better that's a little bit more simplified for people to remember. Because word mark works great for, quick, like Best Buy. That's a word mark right there. Google, that's a word mark because you can see it right there in the names of it. You don't have to go crazy with it, but obviously you can't make a word mark of a lot of different for, again, the NSA, like the National Security Administration. You can't make a word mark for that. That's too long when you're trying to do something that's a little bit more simplified. So this works great for companies that have smaller names and smaller experiences. That way you can use a word mark. And then finally, let's go back to our combination mark, where combination marks combine 2 or more methods. Burger King combines 2 or more methods. They combine an abstract method with a word mark, where they use the word mark as the meat of the burger, and then they use that abstract element of the meat being the words, and then put 2 semicircles above it in like a bun shape, so it looks like it's a burger. With the way it's done, that's how they apply abstract thinking with a word mark to really create something custom for themselves, and that's where it's great. Logos are great. Logos add a lot more to certain things. They add more to the experience and the company structure, but also they also add personality to those logos. And having the right visuals and images that are tied together to bring your company and business to another level, to kind of give them an identity, is really huge from a logo. Other than that, that's all I got. So I just want to wish everybody, I hope they had a great Thanksgiving. Just want to give some insight into your assignment this weekend. Do keep in mind, I'm looking for 2 pages of written content. That would be awesome. I still want the images, but I at least would like 2 pages of written content. Please write in APA format, double-spaced. Please don't use bullet points or numberings. It turns your paper into an outline. That would be great. Other than that, that's all I got. So be safe, have fun, enjoy, take it easy. Hope everybody has a great weekend. See y'all on Monday. All right, bye-bye.